Okay, so what we'll discuss today is kind of the NBA load management scenario uh, that we've written about and we've gotten some feedback on, um, and and I believe I posted it in the subscriber chat, but I think that somebody else is injured with a. Did you see that? Did you see what I posted? Um,
Uh, I don't believe I did.
let me pull it up and see.
A recent injury?
Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton dealing with
Oh,
a.
yes. Yes.
Yeah, you saw it but didn't respond. Nice.
No, no, I
Yeah.
didn't see that. I heard that he got injured. I don't even, that's it.
Okay, so it says here this is, based off of, obviously they're, at the time of this is Thursday, June 19th, right? So Pacers star point guard is dealing with a right calf strain. We would obviously call that, I mean, calf strain, we're thinking bottom up connective tissue. So with our definition of
Hmm.
reactive strength, we're thinking another reactive strength injury in
Hmm.
the NBA
Hmm.
when like output has to be at the highest, right? So what we see, I don't want to speak for you, but I know that we pretty much see things the same thing, but it's like neural output is now at an all-time high and connective tissue can't keep up. And and let me overlay the NBA, and we don't know what entities of the NBA have been saying, hey, we have this load management strategy that's supposed to be mitigating all of this stuff, but it appears based off of just raw data that, we wrote about the Achilles tendon reactive strength ruptures. Okay, well,
Hmm.
they hit more this year than they ever have,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
So from as outsiders looking in, I'll speak for myself. It looks like their strategy has not yielded the results. If you had to overlay and say, hey, these are the results, you got, everything's on the line and your star point guard can't play because of a calf strain.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, let's just state some facts here. We wrote that article, uh, whenever that was, a couple of weeks ago, about how we felt like current load management strategies, load management protocols are not creating what ultimately they're designed to do, which is having athletes more prepared for the rigors of the season over, I don't know how many games the NBA plays, 82 games or 80 games, whatever the case is. And so we did get a lot of reaction on that essay, positive and negative. I think that some of the maybe neutral or more negative response came from folks that are actually in the NBA. And so I think before we get into any further discussion, we're not like, obviously we know that there are many factors at play, that there are many factors that go into load management. We didn't mention those in the essay. Those are, external things, obviously nutrition, rest, recovery, travel, all these things. Obviously, we understand as professionals that those things do go into load management. So it's not that we solely focus only on one thing. Like, obviously we know this is a system that has, combined effects, and those combined effects can interact in multiple different ways. What we are saying is that in our experience, and this isn't necessarily across the whole NBA, because obviously we don't know that. But in our experience, in dealing with some organizations or some individuals from organizations, the majority of load management from a physical perspective has been to come out of activity and rest, because the thought was that ultimately the athlete was fatigued, And as a result of fatigue, there was an increase in mechanical loading, or the potential for an increase in mechanical loading. And as a result of an increase in mechanical loading, they're more likely to receive an injury. So we wrote the essay based on the premise that, again, from our experience in dealing with some organizations, that was essentially their load management strategy. So I just wanted to kind of get that out before we go into any further discussion. What we are saying is that ultimately, taking into account all those factors as we understand them, they do play a role, because they do have a role in, biochemistry, biology, physiology of the athlete, of course. What we are saying is that there seems to be, from a load management perspective, there seems to be a asymmetry between what our definition of these injuries, these mechanical overload injuries are, which are reactive strength injuries. There seems to be an asymmetry between what is happening in the top down component of it and what is happening in the bottom up component. So when there's an asymmetry between those two things, and you throw in 80 some odd games, and you throw in lifestyle factors, and you throw in travel, then that is obviously a recipe for injury. So what our essay was primarily about, and what we want to articulate, is we're not trying to be negative. We're just trying to say, hey, look, there's a whole lens here that we think, from an absolute perspective, is not being looked through. And there's a huge asymmetry between the neurological component of the athlete and the biological component of the athlete. So from our perspective, load management should be to make more symmetry between those two factors. And when you can make more symmetry between those two factors, where the nervous system has more tissue to use, having more tissue to use makes your nervous system more effective, in a nutshell. Then ultimately we feel like there's less probability and less potential to achieve or to sustain a reactive strength injury.